Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Discovery and watched the stars drift past the main screen. The ship moved through empty space near the edge of human territory. It was just another routine survey mission in the year 2387. Jake had been doing these runs for 15 years and nothing ever happened out here. Dr. Lisa Grant looked up from her science station and frowned. Her instruments were picking up something strange, energy readings that did not match anything in the human database. She called out to Jake that they had contact. Jake walked over to her station and looked at the readings. The energy signature was massive and unlike anything he had ever seen. It was not a natural phenomenon. Something artificial was out there, and it was big. Colonel Rick Hayes stood up from his position at the tactical station. He was the military advisor on this mission, and his job was to keep everyone safe. Rick had fought in the border wars against pirates and knew trouble when he saw it. This looked like trouble. The Discovery changed course toward the energy source. As they got closer, the ship sensors began to pick up massive objects. Not one ship, but dozens of them. Each one was larger than any human vessel ever built. They were shaped like crystals and gave off a blue glow that hurt to look at. Jake ordered the crew to battle stations, but he hoped they would not need to fight. First contact with alien life was supposed to be handled by diplomats, not ship captains. He sent a message to Earth Command, but it would take hours for a reply to reach them out here. Ambassador Kara Sullivan came to the bridge. She was on the Discovery to handle any diplomatic situations they might encounter. Kara had spent years studying alien contact protocols, even though no one expected to actually use them. She looked at the alien ships on the screen and felt her heart racing. The alien vessels began to move toward the Discovery. They moved without visible engines or thrusters. Space seemed to bend around them as they approached. The technology was far beyond anything humans possessed. Kara sent out a standard first contact message in multiple languages and mathematical sequences, the universal greeting that scientists had developed for this exact moment. For long minutes, there was no response. Then the aliens answered. The voice that came through the speakers was cold and harsh. It spoke in perfect English, which was impossible since no human had ever contacted these beings before. The voice called itself War Prime Vexthor of the Zephyrian Empire. It demanded that the human vessel surrender immediately. Kara tried to explain that they were peaceful explorers. She offered to establish diplomatic relations between their species. The human race wanted to learn from other intelligent life and share knowledge for the benefit of all. Vexthor laughed. The sound was like breaking glass. He said humans were insects that had crawled out of their dirt ball world. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered 17 star systems. They had destroyed species far more advanced than humanity. Earth would surrender or be destroyed. Jake stepped forward and spoke directly to Vexthor. He said that humans did not surrender to threats. If the aliens wanted war, they would get one, but Earth would not go down without a fight. The Discovery was just one small ship, but humanity had hundreds of worlds and billions of people. The alien War Prime seemed amused by Jake's defiance. He said humans would learn what real power looked like. On the main screen, one of the crystal ships began to glow brighter. Energy gathered at its front section. Rick shouted a warning, but it was too late. A beam of pure energy shot out from the alien ship. It struck something in the distance and a bright flash filled the screen. When the light faded, there was nothing left where the new Denver mining station had been. 50,000 human civilians had just been vaporized in an instant. The Discovery shook as the alien weapons locked onto their ship. Jake ordered emergency jump to hyperspace. The ship's engines screamed as they tried to escape. Behind them, more energy beams reached out like the fingers of death. They barely made it to hyperspace before the aliens could destroy them. The Discovery jumped away from the contact zone and headed for Earth at maximum speed. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Grant treated crew members who had been injured when the aliens fired on them. Jake sat in his command chair and thought about what had just happened. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they were not alone and they were in terrible danger. The aliens had technology that could destroy entire worlds. They had already proven they would use it. Colonel Hayes worked at his station sending messages to every human world and military base. Earth needed to know what was coming. The aliens had given them a demonstration of power that left no doubt about their intentions. This was not going to be a diplomatic solution. Ambassador Sullivan sat in her quarters and wrote her report. She had failed in the most important mission in human history. First contact had gone wrong in the worst possible way. Instead of peace and friendship, humanity had found an enemy that wanted to wipe them out. The alien fleet did not follow them into hyperspace, but Jake knew they would come. Vexthor had made it clear that the Zephyrian Empire would not stop until Earth was conquered. They saw humans as nothing more than pests to be eliminated. As the Discovery raced toward Earth, Jake thought about his family back home. His wife Sarah and their 2 children had no idea what was heading their way. None of the billions of people on human worlds knew that their peaceful existence was about to end. The aliens had wanted to find weak prey in the darkness between the stars. They thought they had found easy victims in the human race, but Jake remembered something his grandfather had told him about humans. They looked soft and weak, but when pushed into a corner they became the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. The Zephyrians were about to learn that lesson the hard way. They wanted war with Earth, and they were going to get more than they bargained for. The question was whether humanity would survive long enough to show these aliens what humans were really capable of when their backs were against the wall. 6 months had passed since the Discovery brought news of the alien threat to Earth. Admiral Ben Carter stood in the command center at Earth Defense Headquarters and watched the tactical displays. Red dots showed Zephyrian fleets moving toward human space. They were coming, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop them. The first target was New Austin, a terraformed world with 12 million people. General Amy Phillips commanded the defense fleet, but everyone knew the odds were hopeless. Human ships were smaller and weaker than the alien vessels. The technology gap was like comparing arrows to atomic weapons. Captain Tony Martinez led his squadron toward the approaching enemy. He commanded the UES Defiance along with 11 other ships. They were the best humanity had to offer, but Tony knew they were flying to their deaths. His crew was young and brave, and they deserved better than this. The Zephyrian fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Dozens of crystal ships arranged in geometric patterns that looked like deadly art. They moved without sound through the vacuum of space. Each ship was 3 times larger than the biggest human vessel. General Phillips gave the order to attack. Human ships charged forward with weapons blazing. Plasma cannons and missile launchers fired everything they had at the alien fleet. The weapons hit the crystal hulls and did absolutely nothing. The alien shields absorbed the attacks like they were raindrops. Then the Zephyrians fired back. Beams of energy reached across space and touched human ships. Where the beams hit, metal turned to vapor. Entire vessels simply ceased to exist. Tony watched the UES Valor disappear in a flash of light. 200 good people gone in an instant. The quantum torpedoes were even worse. They passed right through human armor like it was not even there. The weapons appeared inside ship hulls and exploded. The UES Guardian broke apart from the inside out. Captain Maria Santos and her entire crew died without even seeing what killed them. Tony tried to keep his squadron together, but it was hopeless. The alien weapons were too advanced and too powerful. Human ships exploded all around him. The brave men and women of the defense fleet died trying to protect their world, but their sacrifice meant nothing against such overwhelming technology. Lieutenant Sam Rodriguez worked frantically at his engineering station aboard the Defiance. He was young and smart and refused to give up even when everything seemed lost. Sam watched the alien ships move and began to notice something important. They always attacked in the same formations. Their movements were perfect, but predictable. The retreat order came too late for most of the fleet. Only 3 human ships escaped the massacre at New Austin. Tony brought the badly damaged Defiance back to Earth with news of the defeat. 12 million civilians were now under alien occupation. Commander Helen Brooks worked in the intelligence division at Earth Command. She listened to Sam Rodriguez explain what he had observed during the battle. The aliens fought like machines, following a program. They were incredibly efficient, but they never varied their tactics. On Earth, Dr. Peter Chang led a team of scientists studying captured alien technology. They had recovered pieces of Zephyrian ships from previous encounters. What they found was disturbing. The alien technology was perfect in every way. It never broke down or failed, but it also never changed or adapted. The Zephyrians continued their advance through human space. They conquered 3 more colonies in quick succession. Millions of humans fell under their control. The alien occupation was efficient and brutal. Resistance was met with immediate destruction. War Prime Vexthor broadcast a message to all human worlds. His voice was cold and cruel as he demanded complete surrender. He promised that those who gave up without a fight would be allowed to live as slaves. Those who resisted would be eliminated along with their entire populations. The message was meant to break human morale, but it had the opposite effect. President Maria Santos called an emergency session of the World Council. Representatives from every human world gathered to hear her response to the alien ultimatum. President Santos stood before the cameras and delivered a speech that would be remembered for generations. She said that humanity had always faced extinction and had always found a way to survive. Humanity would not bow down to alien conquerors no matter how advanced their technology might be. She reminded everyone that humans had evolved as hunters on a deadly world. They had survived ice ages and plagues and wars that nearly destroyed them. Every challenge had made them stronger. The aliens thought they were fighting sheep, but they were actually facing wolves that had learned to wear clothing. The President ended her speech with words that became legendary throughout human space. She looked directly into the camera and said that the aliens had made one fatal mistake. They had gone looking for monsters in the dark between the stars. They had succeeded in their search. They had found humanity. Dr. Chang made a breakthrough in his research. The alien technology was networked through quantum entanglement. Every Zephyrian ship was connected to every other ship. This gave them perfect coordination, but it also created a weakness. If humans could find a way to hack the network, they could turn the alien advantage against them. Meanwhile, Captain Steve Johnson was developing new tactics for human fighters. Since they could not match alien firepower, they would have to rely on speed and unpredictability. Human pilots were trained to fly in random patterns that confused alien targeting systems. The first successful human counterattack came 3 weeks later. Captain Johnson led a squadron of modified fighters against a Zephyrian supply convoy. Using hit-and-run tactics, they destroyed several alien ships before disappearing back into hyperspace. The aliens were surprised by the attack. Their perfect battle computers had not predicted such chaotic behavior. For the first time since the war began, Zephyrian commanders felt something they had never experienced before: uncertainty. Engineer Julie Watson worked around the clock developing new weapon systems. She created ghost ships that projected false sensor signatures. The aliens wasted massive amounts of firepower destroying empty hulks, while real human ships attacked from different angles. Colonel Danny Price led the ground forces on occupied worlds. He taught human fighters how to use guerrilla tactics against alien troops. The Zephyrians expected conquered populations to submit quietly. Instead, they found themselves facing endless ambushes and sabotage. War Prime Vexthor grew frustrated as human resistance increased instead of collapsing. His advisors assured him that these tactics were just temporary desperation. The humans would break eventually. But reports from the front lines told a different story. The tide began to turn at the Battle of Titan Station. Admiral Frank Torres used the aliens' own predictable tactics against them. He arranged his fleet to look like it was following human doctrine, but actually used Zephyrian battle formations. When the aliens attacked, they found themselves fighting their own strategy. For the first time in the war, humans achieved a major victory. The aliens lost dozens of ships and retreated in confusion. The perfect warriors of the Zephyrian Empire had been beaten by the very species they had dismissed as inferior insects. The victory at Titan Station proved that humans could fight back and win. More importantly, it showed that the aliens were not invincible. Their technology was superior, but their thinking was rigid and inflexible. Humans were beginning to understand that this war could actually be won. 1 year into the war, and everything had changed. The Zephyrian Empire faced something they had never encountered in their 1,000 years of conquest: An enemy that was getting stronger instead of weaker. An enemy that learned from every defeat and adapted to every challenge. Dr. Peter Chang stood in his laboratory surrounded by alien technology and human innovations. His team had finally cracked the secret of Zephyrian quantum networks. Every alien ship was connected to every other ship through quantum entanglement. The network allowed perfect coordination, but it also created the ultimate vulnerability. Captain Steve Johnson commanded the 1st Hunter Squadron. His ships were small and fast, built specifically to hunt Zephyrian vessels. They used chaos protocols in combat, flying in deliberately random patterns that confused alien targeting computers. The aliens could not hit what they could not predict. Lieutenant Commander Paul Green sat at his computer terminal and prepared to make history. He was about to launch the first successful cyber attack on an alien network. His fingers moved across the keyboard as he sent carefully crafted code through quantum channels into Zephyrian systems. The attack worked better than anyone had hoped. An entire Zephyrian battle group suddenly turned their weapons on each other. Perfect coordination became perfect destruction as alien ships fired on their own allies. In 15 minutes, 30 Zephyrian vessels destroyed themselves. The psychological impact of the cyber attack was enormous. For the first time in their history, the Zephyrians realized their perfect technology could be turned against them. Their greatest strength had become their greatest weakness, and they had no idea how to fix it. Captain Rachel Stone commanded the UES Vengeance, the first ship designed specifically to fight aliens. It combined reverse-engineered Zephyrian technology with human innovation. The ship could match alien firepower while maintaining human tactical flexibility. It was the perfect fusion of two very different approaches to warfare. Admiral Kevin Ross led the 3rd Fleet against a massive alien armada near the Proxima system. The Zephyrians had abandoned their quantum networks after the cyber attacks, but this destroyed their coordination advantage. Human commanders exploited this weakness by using superior tactics and unit coordination. The battle was fierce, but humans had learned how to fight these aliens. They used unpredictable attack patterns and flexible formations. When the Zephyrians tried to respond with their rigid doctrine, they found themselves always one step behind the human forces. Engineer Julie Watson had become a legend among human forces. Her ghost ship technology had evolved into something the aliens could not counter. False sensor signatures appeared everywhere while real human ships struck from impossible angles. The Zephyrians never knew what was real and what was illusion. Colonel Danny Price led guerrilla forces on 12 occupied worlds. His fighters had turned Zephyrian-controlled planets into nightmares for alien troops. Every shadow might hide a human sniper. Every building might contain a bomb. Every civilian might be a spy gathering intelligence. The aliens had expected conquered populations to submit quietly like every other species they had defeated. Instead, they found themselves fighting an endless war against people who refused to give up. Human civilians picked up weapons and joined the resistance. Children carried messages between rebel cells. War Prime Vexthor paced in his command chamber aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion. Reports flooded in from across the front lines, and none of them were good. Human forces were winning battles they should have lost. Occupied worlds were in constant rebellion. The perfect war machine of the Zephyrian Empire was falling apart. His advisors tried to reassure him that these setbacks were temporary. They had conquered 17 star systems and destroyed dozens of alien species. Surely these humans could not be that different from all the others. But Vexthor was beginning to understand that humans were very different indeed. Commander Alice Kane worked in the intelligence division and had made a crucial discovery. Zephyrian military doctrine had not changed in over 500 years. They fought every war the same way because it had always worked before. They had never faced an enemy that could adapt and evolve. The breakthrough came during the Battle of Europa Station. Captain Jennifer Lewis led a daring raid on a Zephyrian shipyard using captured alien vessels. Her team infiltrated the facility and downloaded complete manufacturing specifications for advanced Zephyrian technology. The raid was a complete success. Not only did they destroy the shipyard, but they escaped with data that would revolutionize human ship design. For the first time, humans could build vessels that matched alien capabilities while retaining human tactical advantages. Dr. Chang received the stolen data and immediately began incorporating it into new ship designs. The hybrid technology combined the best of both species. Alien power systems and weapons merged with human adaptability and creativity. The results exceeded all expectations. Admiral Catherine Miller took command of the newly formed Hunter fleets. These were small, fast ships designed to stalk Zephyrian vessels across multiple star systems. They hunted in packs like wolves, striking quickly and disappearing before reinforcements could arrive. The Hunters proved devastatingly effective against isolated alien ships. Zephyrian commanders found themselves afraid to venture outside their main fleets. Supply lines became dangerous as human ships appeared without warning to destroy convoys and disappear again. The first new class of human warships rolled out of the shipyard 6 months later. The UES Retribution was larger and more powerful than any previous human vessel. It mounted weapons based on Zephyrian technology, but controlled by human tactical systems. The ship was a symbol of how far humanity had come. Captain Tony Martinez, one of the few survivors from the early battles, took command of the Retribution. He had watched his friends die in hopeless battles against superior alien technology. Now he commanded a ship that could fight the aliens on equal terms and win. The Zephyrians tried to adapt by changing their tactics, but it was too little too late. Their rigid command structure could not handle rapid changes. Human forces exploited every hesitation and confusion. What had started as an alien conquest was becoming a human counteroffensive. Other species under Zephyrian rule began to rebel. They had watched humans fight back successfully and realized that the Empire was not invincible. Rebellions broke out on dozens of worlds as subject races rose up against their oppressors. The Empire's resources became stretched thin fighting on multiple fronts. They could no longer concentrate overwhelming force against human targets. This gave humanity the breathing room needed to complete their technological revolution and prepare for the final phase of the war. War Prime Vex Thor faced growing pressure from the High Council. The easy conquest of Earth had turned into a grinding war that was tearing the Empire apart. Other war primes questioned his leadership and demanded results. In desperation, Vex Thor made a decision that would seal his fate. Rather than accept defeat or negotiate peace, he chose to escalate. He ordered the deployment of planet-killer weapons against Earth itself. If he could not have an easy victory, he would at least have complete destruction. The War Prime did not understand that this decision would unleash something far worse than anything he had faced so far. Humanity had been fighting for survival, but now they would be fighting for revenge. The aliens had wanted war with Earth, and they were about to discover what humans were truly capable of when pushed beyond all limits. The news reached Earth Command at 300 hours. Long-range sensors had detected a massive Zephyrian fleet moving toward the Sol system. This was not another conquest fleet. These ships carried planet-killer weapons capable of cracking worlds apart. War Prime Vex Thor had decided that if he could not conquer Earth, he would destroy it completely. Admiral Ben Carter stood in the command center and watched the tactical display. The alien fleet was still 3 days away, but everyone knew the Uriai. Odds were impossible. Earth's defenses had grown stronger, but they could not stop planet-killer weapons. The only hope was evacuation, but 12 billion people could not be moved in 3 days. President Maria Santos refused to leave Earth. She stood in the Oval Office and told her staff that she would face the end with her people. If humanity was going to die, then their leaders would die with them. The president's decision inspired millions of others to stay and fight rather than run, but humanity had spent the last year preparing for this moment. Dr. Peter Chang revealed Project Phoenix to the world leaders. Hidden installations throughout, human space contained the complete genetic and cultural database of the human race. Even if Earth was destroyed, humanity would survive and remember. Captain Jake Morrison now commanded the massive UES Retribution, the most powerful ship in the human fleet. He looked at the tactical display and saw hundreds of human vessels preparing for the final battle. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they would not go down without a fight. The battle began at the edge of the solar system near Neptune. Zephyrian ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their planet-killer weapons charged with energy that could crack worlds. The crystal hulls glowed with deadly purpose as they moved toward Earth. Admiral Catherine Miller led the hunter fleets in the opening attack. Dozens of small, fast ships swarmed the alien formation like angry wasps. They could not stop the planet killers, but they could disrupt the escort fleet. Every alien ship destroyed was one less weapon pointed at Earth. The space battle spread across the entire solar system. Human and alien forces clashed among the planets and moons. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes that lit up the darkness. The largest space battle in galactic history was being fought for the survival of the human race. Commander Helen Brooks sat in her intelligence center and activated the final phase of her cyber warfare program. Over the past year, she had planted viruses in every Zephyrian network she could access. Now all of those programs activated at once in a coordinated digital assault. The effect was immediate and devastating. Alien ships began shutting down or attacking each other as their computer systems failed. The perfect coordination of the Zephyrian fleet dissolved into chaos as ships lost contact with their command structure. Captain Rachel Stone led her squadron through the confused alien formation. The UES Vengeance and her sister ships struck at the planet killers while their escorts were distracted. Human weapons that had been useless 2 years ago now tore through alien hulls like paper. War Prime Vexthor watched in horror from his flagship as his perfect fleet fell apart. Ships that had conquered star systems now fired on their own allies. The quantum networks that had made the Empire invincible had become the means of its destruction. But the humans did not stop with defense. Admiral Frank Torres led the Great Hunt, a systematic campaign to track down every Zephyrian fleet in known space. What had started as protection of Earth became something far more comprehensive. Humanity was not just fighting back, they were hunting their enemies to extinction. The first target was the Zephyrian Third Fleet near Alpha Centauri. Captain Tony Martinez brought the Retribution and 50 other ships against the alien force. The battle was brief and one-sided. Human ships equipped with hybrid technology tore through the alien formation without mercy. Captain Jennifer Lewis commanded a strike force that hit Zephyrian supply bases throughout their territory. Using captured alien ships, her teams infiltrated enemy installations and destroyed them from within. The Empire's logistics network collapsed as humans struck everywhere at once. Engineer Julie Watson had developed new weapons specifically designed to kill Zephyrians. Quantum disruptors that tore apart alien ships at the molecular level. Viral programs that turned alien computers against their creators. Reality bombs that deleted sections of spacetime itself. The aliens tried to retreat to their core worlds, but human forces followed them. Captain Steve Johnson led hunter squadrons that tracked fleeing Zephyrian ships across hundreds of light years. No alien vessel was allowed to escape. The hunt continued until every last ship was destroyed. Colonel Danny Price expanded his guerrilla operations to every world the aliens had ever conquered. Human special forces teams appeared on planets throughout the Zephyrian Empire. They armed local populations and taught them how to fight their oppressors. The rebellion spread like wildfire through alien space. Species that had been conquered centuries ago rose up against their rulers. The Zephyrian Empire found itself fighting simultaneous wars on thousands of worlds as their subject races threw off the chains of slavery. War Prime Vexthor received reports from across his crumbling empire. Fleet after fleet had been destroyed by human forces. World after world had fallen to rebellion. The mighty Zephyrian Empire was collapsing, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. The High Council demanded answers, but Vexthor had none to give. How could he explain that the species they had dismissed as insects had become the greatest threat the galaxy had ever seen? How could he tell them that the Empire's 1,000-year reign was ending at the hands of these soft mammals from Earth? Dr. Chang worked with captured Zephyrian scientists to understand the full scope of their empire. The aliens had conquered 47 star systems and enslaved dozens of species. Their technology was scattered across thousands of worlds. All of it now belonged to humanity. The final confrontation came at the Zephyrian homeworld of Crystallis Prime. Captain Rachel Stone led a combined human fleet against the last alien stronghold. The battle was fierce but brief. Centuries of Zephyrian civilization came to an end in a single day. Vexthor made his final transmission as his flagship died around him. He warned any species listening that humanity was not like other races. They did not just fight wars, they ended them permanently. They were apex predators that would not stop until their enemies were completely destroyed. The War Prime's last words were a warning that would echo through the galaxy for generations. He told the universe that they had awakened something terrible in the darkness between stars. The humans had been pushed too far and would not stop until every threat to their species was eliminated forever. Admiral Catherine Miller stood on the bridge of humanity's first dreadnought, built from the ruins of the Zephyrian Empire. She looked out at the stars and knew that the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had taken its place not as supplicants but as the species others feared to provoke. The war was over, but its lessons would never be forgotten. The galaxy had learned what happened to those who threatened Earth. The Zephyrian Empire was gone, wiped from existence by the very species they had thought to easily conquer. In 3 years, humans had gone from victims to apex predators. Other, alien civilizations watched from a distance and whispered warnings to each other. Never threaten Earth directly. Never underestimate human determination. Never assume that superior technology guarantees victory. The humans had proven that some prey bite back harder than anyone could imagine. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 years had passed since the last Zephyrian ship was destroyed, and the empire that had ruled for 1,000 years was nothing but scattered debris floating in space. Humanity had not just won the war, they had erased their enemies from existence so completely that future generations would think the Zephyrians were myths. Admiral Catherine Miller stood in the observation deck of the UES Dominance, the first human dreadnought built entirely from conquered alien technology. The massive ship drifted in orbit around what had once been Crystallis Prime, the Zephyrian homeworld. Nothing remained of the alien civilization except ruins and radiation. Captain Jake Morrison joined her at the viewing port. He had survived the entire war from first contact to final victory. The man who had witnessed the destruction of New Denver mining station now commanded the fleet that had brought an empire to its knees. The irony was not lost on him. They looked down at the dead world below and thought about how it had all begun. The Zephyrians had been so confident in their superiority. They had dismissed humans as primitive insects crawling out of a dirtball world. They had demanded surrender and threatened extinction. They had gotten extinction, but not the kind they expected. Dr. Peter Chang worked in laboratories built from captured alien facilities. His team had spent years studying Zephyrian technology and biology. They had learned terrible things about the Empire and its history. 47 star systems conquered, dozens of species enslaved or wiped out, trillions of lives destroyed by alien arrogance. The Zephyrians had been perfect warriors but terrible strategists. They had never faced an enemy that could adapt and evolve. Every species they conquered had fought the same way from beginning to end. Humans were different. Humans learned from every defeat and turned each setback into an advantage. President Maria Santos sat in her office on Earth and read reports from across human space. The war had transformed humanity in ways nobody had expected. They had gone from a peaceful species of explorers to the most feared predators in the galaxy. Other alien civilizations sent messages of friendship and offers of alliance. The transformation had not been easy. Millions of humans had died in the war. Entire worlds had been occupied and scarred by battle. Children had grown up knowing only conflict and struggle. But they had survived, and more than that, they had won completely. Captain Rachel Stone commanded a fleet of hybrid ships that patrolled the former Zephyrian territory. Her job was to hunt down any remaining alien technology or survivors. The orders were clear and simple. Nothing of the Zephyrian Empire could be allowed to survive. The galaxy must never again face such a threat. The hunt had been thorough and ruthless. Every Zephyrian installation was located and destroyed. Every piece of alien technology was captured or eliminated. Every member of the alien species was tracked down and killed. Humanity had learned the hard way that mercy toward enemies was a luxury they could not afford. Other species that had been enslaved by the Zephyrians were finally free. The Altarians had been subjects for 300 years. The Centauri had been conquered 2 centuries ago. Dozens of alien races owed their freedom to human military action. Some were grateful, others were terrified. Engineer Julie Watson had become the chief architect of human expansion into former alien space. Her job was to design colonies and outposts that could defend against future threats. Never again would humanity be caught unprepared by superior alien technology. Every human world would be a fortress. The new colonies were unlike anything built before. They combined alien technology with human innovation to create settlements that were both productive and defensible. Weapons platforms surrounded every planet. Shield generators protected every city. Sensor networks watched every approach. Colonel Danny Price led the occupation forces that maintained order in former Zephyrian space. His soldiers were hard men and women who had learned warfare in the crucible of the alien war. They showed no mercy to those who threatened human interests and no fear of superior numbers or technology. War Prime Vexthor was dead along with his entire species, but his final warning had spread throughout the galaxy. Other alien civilizations had listened to his last transmission and understood its meaning. Humanity was not like other species. They were apex predators that would not stop until threats were completely eliminated. The warning had the intended effect. No alien power dared to threaten human worlds or interests. Trade missions approached Earth with extreme caution. Diplomatic contacts were conducted with elaborate protocols designed to avoid giving offense. The galaxy had learned to fear the species from the small blue world. Admiral Frank Torres commanded the Great Fleet, a massive armada that patrolled the borders of human space. His ships carried weapons that could crack planets and engines that could cross the galaxy in weeks. The fleet existed for one purpose: to make sure no alien power ever again made the mistake of threatening Earth. Dr. Chang made regular reports to the World Council about alien species and their capabilities. His intelligence network monitored every civilization within 500 light years of Earth. If any species began developing weapons or showing aggression toward humans, they would be eliminated before they became a threat. The policy was harsh, but necessary. Humanity had learned that the galaxy was full of predators who would destroy them given the chance. The Zephyrians had been the first, but they would not be the last. Better to strike first than to risk extinction at alien hands. Commander Helen Brooks had become the head of human intelligence operations. Her cyber warfare programs monitored alien communications across half the galaxy. Any species that even discussed attacking humanity found their computer systems infected with viruses that could destroy their entire civilization. The message was clear to anyone listening. Humanity would not tolerate threats of any kind. Species that kept to themselves and minded their own business were left alone. Those who showed aggression or expansionist tendencies were eliminated quickly and quietly before they could become dangerous. Captain Jennifer Lewis led exploration fleets that mapped former Zephyrian space and searched for new threats. Her ships carried the most advanced sensors and weapons humanity could build. They were prepared for anything the galaxy might throw at them. The exploration revealed the true scope of Zephyrian crimes. Entire species had been wiped out for the crime of resistance. Beautiful worlds had been strip-mined and left as barren rocks. Ancient civilizations had been destroyed to feed alien hunger for conquest and resources. Humanity had not just won a war. They had prevented future genocides. The Zephyrian Empire would never again threaten peaceful species. The galaxy was safer, with humans as the dominant power, than it had been under alien rule. 10 years after the war ended, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Discovery 2, named for the ship where it all began. He was exploring sectors of space that no human had ever seen. His mission was to find new worlds for human colonization and watch for potential threats. The galaxy respected human power now, but Jake knew that respect was based on fear. Other species remembered what had happened to the Zephyrians. They had wanted war with Earth and gotten extinction instead. The lesson was clear to anyone with intelligence. Humanity had taken its place as the apex species in this region of the galaxy, They were no longer explorers seeking peaceful contact with alien life. They were hunters who made sure that nothing threatened the survival of their kind. The soft mammals from Earth had become the most dangerous predators in space. The stars themselves seemed to remember the war and its outcome. In the ruins of alien worlds, in the wreckage of conquered fleets, in the silence where alien voices once spoke, the galaxy bore witness to human determination. They had been pushed too far and had pushed back with interest. Future generations would grow up in a universe where humanity was feared and respected. No alien child would be taught that humans were weak or defensible. The species from Earth had proven beyond doubt that some prey bite back with lethal force. The war had ended not with negotiation or compromise, but with the complete extinction of humanity's enemies. It was a lesson that would echo through space and time. Never threaten Earth directly. Never assume human weakness. Never forget what happens to those who push humanity beyond the breaking point.